Here's an interview from one of our past shows on Rock and Metal Revival. If you're interested in hearing full shows, go to our Facebook page and check out our list of affiliates for times and places where you can hear Rock and Metal Revival.
There is some new music from Nazareth called Let the Whiskey Flow from their new album called Surviving the Law. And with us today is founding member of Nazareth-Pete-Agnew. Welcome to Rock and Metal Revival, Pete.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pete, I was looking into Nazareth. I've been listening to Nazareth probably, I feel like, all my life. And you guys, 54 years in rock, 25 albums. And once again, Nazareth comes out with another great album. I have to ask, all these years, how do you keep coming out with fresh and new, really great music?
I don't know. I think I've been practicing, I'm getting better with age, I think. I don't know. It's just... obviously, we love what we're doing, but and I've been around here a bit longer than most. But every new album feels like it's an exciting event. It's not like playing a gig. You don't do one every week or every night. So it's always something to look forward to. So it's the band's occasion of the world meeting or something. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Now, it couldn't have been easy to replace the iconic frontman and voice of Dan McCafferty. I mean, how'd you find Carl Sentence? Is that his name? Because he's really good.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear him sing some of the old stuff, because I think his voice will match fine.
The guy's great. I mean, what happened was when Dan had to leave, because of his health.
Oh, yeah.
And we knew, we're going to be trying to continue, with his blessing, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the first thing that I said and that the guys agreed with, what we do not want is a Dan McCafferty sound-alike,
mm-hmm.
Because that would have been a disaster, because. The fans wouldn't have liked that, and the reviewers would have hated it, and it would be bad for anybody that was the poor guy that was going to be the sound-alike. It wouldn't be fair.
Yeah.
So it would be cheap. So we didn't. And it was funny because when we did, when people knew we were looking for someone. I mean, I got a lot of. I keep saying people were sending me tapes, but of course they don't send tapes these days. I'm giving away my age. It's like the pencil with the cassette. But anyway, what happened was I got a lot of people, a lot of these things sent to me, and a lot of them were Dan McCafferty sound-alikes, and a lot of them were very good, but it's not what we wanted. And it was starting to get a bit desperate. It was a friend of mine, a drummer up here in Scotland, said, "You should take a listen to this Carl Sentence guy," and I'd never heard of him, So I had a look at YouTube. That's handy, this YouTube now and again, And I saw him doing some gigs with Don Airey, Don from
yeah. Yeah.
So he's a good pal of Carol's, and they go out and they do a wee tour. They do albums together. They go on a little tour every year. They try and do a few dates, and then I saw him, and also then I saw Carol on this. It was like one of these kind of rock review kind of shows. Two singers, and like a 10-piece band, and they were doing all the monster hits, all the huge things. From Queen, The Who, Zeppelin, you name it. Leonard Skinner, everybody, all the big hits, and these guys, these two singers, were singing them all. Well, then we saw this guy singing, and he was absolutely wonderful. And of course, this is exactly what we wanted. He was a guy singing covers, and making them his own. The way that's exactly what we were looking for. Somebody that could handle, the big occasion, if you like, but doing it his way. So I thought, well, if he can do that with Queen, and he can do that with The Who, and he can do that with Zeppelin, I'm sure he could do that with Nazareth.
Oh yeah.
So when he came up, we said, if he was interested, and he was very interested in joining the band. So we gave him like 4 songs to say, well, get them, learn them, and come up and do them, an audition. So when he came up to Scotland, we did the first song, and halfway through the first song, we just knew. We said, "Oh, this is the guy."
Nice.
You're hired. So, and the good thing is Well, when anybody's going to replace somebody like that, when you replace somebody in a band, you can replace a bass player or a drummer or a keyboard player, a guitar player. You do that without much trouble. But when you change the lead singer, it's the whole. It's a big difference. Even if it was a lousy lead singer, it's still the lead singer. It's the it's the guy in the band. And of course, Dan was a fabulous lead singer, so to replace him was going to be difficult. And the thing, for the fans to accept that was going to always be the big thing. Well, it was weird, because as soon as we played, as soon as Carol played his first gigs, he's very, very good live. I've got to say that the man's got a great stage presence. And the fans took to him right away. Our fans were really great. You're always going to get people saying, "Oh, well, I'll never work." And well, these people, if it wasn't the original band, then it doesn't count anymore. Yeah. You always get that, but everybody gets that. But no, 95% it was right away. Were like behind Carol, and of course, he never really got any problems with the fans at all, except like I say, one or two. And then, of course, what happened was to really put his stamp on things was to do, you're not really in the band till you record with the band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then we went, and after he'd been there for a couple of years, then we did Tattooed on My Brain, which was, a great album, and it was, and that really established him with our fans, and it established him in the band, as he is the main man,
Mm-hmm.
So now he's got 2 albums under his belt, and they're 2 really, really good. And the thing is about these albums is, they're not just, I always think, well, it's a great album. You did a really great album, but, for you guys. No, it's not just a great album for us guys. These 2 albums, I figure they're 2 of the best albums Nazareth have ever done in their career.
They're great albums,
It's not just a case of make and do the best you can, We've actually turned out 2 really, really, really great albums with that guy singing. And now he's put his kind of stamp on the band.
Nice.
I think that probably really, really went right over and above anything you were asking in that question. But never mind.
Yeah.
Well,
that's just in case you were going to ask anything else. That's it done.
All right, Pete. I mean, only a few bands in rock have survived over 50 years, and the ones that do have some longevity survive on performing their back catalog, and they don't release any new music. What drives you guys to bringing us new music, and how much of it do you plan of this new music to play out on the road?
Well, when you're out, it doesn't matter who you are. If you stop recording or if you are still recording, obviously, the people want to hear the hits. When you go out on the road, we could easily go out and I've done from time to time when you haven't had an album for a while, you just go back to all the big ones and just play that, and everybody's quite happy, Mm-hmm. And so when you're doing a set, getting a set together, there's about 60% of that set that you've got to do. That's if we don't do this, they'll want their money back numbers, and obviously they're quite right. Well, that's the thing, if you go on to see Deep Purple, you want to hear Smoke on the Water, don't you? You're not that much fussy about what's on the latest album. So the thing is, when you're going to, it's nice. What the good thing is about recording is you're showing to your fans that you're still creative. That you're still being creative, and I think that matters. It matters to the band, to your own self-esteem, and I think it matters to the fans. When you get, it's great to see you to actually impress fans that have been your fans, all your life. They've been these big fans that loved all your big numbers, and they come out and they love what you're doing new. It makes it all worthwhile, really. When you feel as if you've really achieved something. And I think it's important to record and to make new albums and to be creative. But I don't slag the bands that aren't lucky enough to be able still doing that, and I don't blame them to go out and play, their top 20 hits, because they earned it. They earned it, and they deserve to do it, and their fans still want to see them doing it. So good luck to them.
Yeah.
But I get up there. I've played I don't know how many. I mean, can you imagine? Love Hurts, and I've never not played that since the day it came out. You know, I can't think how many thousand times I've played that thing.
Oh yeah.
And you know, the songs that we play up there, we've played, you know, and we will play. We'll play forever till the day I die. You know, but I'm quite happy to do that because these are the things that made our name. You know, you should be proud of them. You know, and we are. You know, but I'm really. It's great to be able to go up the stage and say, okay, this is one from our new album. That's wonderful. You know, I didn't think I'd be saying that when I was 75. You know?
No. Oh, that's awesome.
No, that's sure. Now, I dig the Strange Days video, and you've got such a great punchy bass sound. What kind of bass do you play, and what kind is in that video? Is that like a...
That's an alembic. That's the alembic.
Alembic.
And I got that... An alembic, A-L-E-M-B-I-C, alembic.
Oh, I've heard of them.
You know, there's more famous guys playing than me, like Stanley Clarke.
Stanley Clarke,
like
yeah. Victor Wooten.
And what you mean? He used to play alembics as well from time to time. Yeah. But what happened was I got that thing, and it was 1977. I was recording up in Morin Heights, up in Canada, up in the Laurentian Mountains at the Release Studio. And we did 3 albums up there, and when we went up to do the first one, it was a shop in Montreal sent us up some guitars to take a look at, and they sent up these 3 alembic basses, and I'd never seen them. And I picked that thing up, and I thought, this was like heaven to play. So literally, I never played anything since. I mean, on stage, that's been my stage guitar since 1977. So it's a long time. It's 45 years of that guitar.
Wow.
And the thing is, it's still the guitar. And I recorded it mainly with that one all the way through. Although sometimes on records I've used other basses to for certain sounds, certain tracks. For instance, on this album, I used the alembic all the way through, but I used it was an old when we did the song "You Made Me," the one I do. I did that on an ancient old Fender that belongs to my tour manager. And so I used that on that one. But generally, it's the alembic, and it's a very powerful guitar.
Yeah.
Powerful sound.
Now, Pete, how did the COVID lockdown affect the writing and recording of this new album, Surviving the Law?
Oh man, it was like, well, actually, what happened was when we had all the writing that we were doing when we were in lockdown. So as soon as it started, everybody started writing for the next year and a half before we got into the studio. When we got into the studio, they still had all these. They still had all the restrictions. You still had quarantine. You still had all these different things going on. So basically, what we've been telling people actually that we wrote the album in jail and we recorded it on parole. It's kind of what it felt like, because we had nothing else to do but write songs, for that time. It was funny because by the time I think it was March that we went into it was the 21st of March, I think it was here.
Yeah.
That we had this lockdown thing and nobody was allowed out the door. Remember, or the bogeyman would get you. And what happened was, but after about 3 or 4 months, Jimmy, our guitar player, he'd sent me about 12 songs. And I was thinking, this is going to be exciting. When we get to the studio, we're going to have so much stuff here, So what happened is everybody was writing a lot of songs, and what we did before we got to the studio, because we'd never seen each other, we were on the phone and we were sending songs back and forward, over the internet, but just letting everybody hear what we were doing. We said we're going to have to do a bit of choosing before we get to the studio. Otherwise, we were going to have to sit in the studio for a month, just working out which ones we were going to do. So we tried to go through the sort of weeding out process, before about this a couple of months before we went into the studio, to make sure that we kind of whittled it down to about 20 songs, and then we'd make up our mind which ones to do. Once we got in there, the ones that turned out the best. So that's pretty much what happened. But I mean, Jimmy and Carol, our singer, and Jimmy, they both recorded solo albums at the same time, just before, in fact.
Man.
We did Tattooed on My Brain. I'm getting my albums mixed up here. It's an age thing. The Surviving the Law, just before we did that, they were doing the solo album, the solo album was kind of along about the same time, you know.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of material was written in that lockdown. And I'm sure, I mean, all the bands were the same. I was talking to, you know, Uri, Nick Blocks, and I've been in touch with him and different guys during the pandemic. And they were the same. They've been writing songs. And I think everybody was going to, I don't think there was going to be any shortage of songs, any recording sessions a year and a half into that lockdown. You know?
Nice.
Yeah. Now, the song Hair of the Dog is like a staple on any rock station, has been since 1975. Now, do you think that song would have been as popular if it didn't have all that awesome cowbell and the talkbox solo?
I think the reason it was basically when it started, it was a reason because it has a sweary word in it, and we didn't even know, you know, because it was so funny because, you know, obviously the track's called Son of a Bitch. Did you ever hear? Do you hear Hair of the Dog getting sung in that song?
No, I know.
No, because I mean the album was called Son of a Bitch, you know, and we went to, and we thought that was fine because you see where we come from. That's not even, nobody says that. That saying means nothing. You will never hear that being said in the UK because it means nothing. It's not a saying that we use.
Yeah.
But we knew that John Wayne used it in America, so it must have been okay, you know.
Yeah.
So when we came with the album to A&M Records, they just went, you know, when we said it's called Son of a Bitch, they went, no. They said, Sears won't sell it. And which we thought, okay. Now, when you think about that nowadays, it's laughable, you know, because when you hear what's on record now, that sounds like a 1950s goodnight kiss.
Exactly.
Really?
You know,
exactly.
But anyway, we were going to call it that, and of course, what happened was when we did Love Hurts, and Love Hurts became a big hit. Eventually, the album was out for about 6 months before that became a hit. It was only because there was a wee radio station in Beaumont, Texas. The guy just kept playing it, and it kept playing Love Hurts, and eventually it spread and became a hit. So when people bought the album, they discovered this other band on the album. It wasn't just a big ballad thing. They discovered this rock band. Because, you see, we'd had hits all over the world. I mean, we had Platinum Canada records, for instance, you know, and stuff, but we just never ever had a hit in America. America was the only place that eluded us, you know, although we'd been touring there for years. So that was our first breakthrough. And what happened was that went through, and when we did Love Hurts, when the people got the album, they heard Hair of the Dog, or Son of a Bitch. So at the time, the AM stations, they couldn't play that one, so they were playing Love Hurts. But of course at that time, we had this America had this wonderful circuit of college radio stations, you know.
Yeah.
And the college radio stations, the FM stations, they just loved Son of a Bitch. They couldn't wait to play that. So what happened was we had the AM stations playing Love Hurts all day, and we had the FM stations and the college stations playing Son of a Bitch all night. You know? So, and the two things became, you know, they became sort of massive hits, you know, and Hair of the Dog or Son of a Bitch became like an anthem, if you like.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're saying about the cowbell. It's a great mix.
Yeah.
It's a great mix.
It's got great cowbell.
There you go. I think that sounds like what was that one with the Boy Oyster Cult skit that's on the telly? Give me more cowbell.
Yeah.
Yep, that's very good.
Well,
what happened was what happened on that album. What you had with these two tracks is you had that amazing cowbell on Hair of the Dog, and you had this incredible tambourine on Love Hurts.
Oh yeah,
it's actually astounding. I think it's the best rock. It's the best tambourine that's ever been recorded. It's just amazing, and it is so loud that it fits the record so well. And that was that was Manny's mix. That's how Manny saw the thing mixed, you know, in his first production. So it's a great record, all right.
Very cool.
Very great.
Nice.
Well, I'll tell you what, we love this new album called "Surviving the Law" from Nazareth. And
Definitely.
Pete, we let we let the interviewer, our interviewee, I guess, our guest, pick the song out of this interview. So you want to pick one? You can pick one, any Nazareth song if you'd like.
Well, I mean, the one obviously the one that I loved the most was "Strange Days," when the one that Lee wrote was one of the ones that Lee wrote. I think it just about it puts a stamp on the album.
You bet it does.
And it's the opening track, and it just gets everybody ready for they're hoping. It sounds as if it's going to be a great album when you hear that, at the beginning. So I would say that would be my track of the album, really. But I mean, I like so many of the songs. What I did is last night. It's the strangest thing ever. Was we decided that the album gets released tomorrow. But we decided that we were going to put the whole album on YouTube today, so that everybody could hear it. Like, if they want to just go in there. And because a lot of people just listen to YouTube, they'll never buy it anyway. But people that really like you, they're going to buy it. So
exactly.
What they can do is our Easter gift to them is tune in, and you can hear the whole album, and then you can make up your mind if you're going to buy a copy for your mum for Easter.
Nice.
Excellent.
Nice.
So when last night. When we put it on today, but last night I've never heard the album sort of all the way through, so I've never really heard it. So around about midnight last night, when they got the link ready, I got the headphones. So I got my headphones on and just plugged into it, and I listened to it from start to finish. And I thought to myself, that's a really good album.
It is. It is a good album.
I thought these guys are good. So it's just it's a great album, and I really enjoyed it myself. So I think if I enjoyed it that much, other people will.
Yeah.
Yes,
definitely.
exactly. They will enjoy it. Well, Pete, we appreciate you taking time to talk with us today, and we wish you nothing but health and success coming up here in 2022. And you're welcome on this show anytime.